Supposed to pick up a detainee named Danny Ramos.
Please lock your weapon.
Expect a big ping, brother. My whole body's a weapon.
The Terminator itself has always functioned best when it's taken upon the role of an authority figure. And so we thought, okay, well, if she's in Mexico and try to cross the border, which has all sorts of resonances with the things that are happening today, it'd be interesting if the Terminator then kind of morphs what it's presenting itself as somebody, or border control or ICE or whatnot.
We are shooting a detention center scene that happens when our characters try and cross the border. And it's a lot of chaos, a lot of extras, and a lot of fighting. This is a baton that they gave me that I'm actually not allowed to use, and somebody is always watching me in case I hurt someone.
We shot the detention center scene in a Nokia factory that we had made to look as much like one of the American detention facilities as we could.
Sarah Connor. I'm Officer Rigby. It's an honor. We're right now filming in a warehouse which is doubling as a detention center on the border of Texas and Mexico. I'm a border control officer who takes Sarah Connor away and interrogates her.
What do you sound like in the movie?
I sound like this. No, I sound like this. In the movie, I kind of sound a little bit more like your everyday average American. Let's go. You belong in your own private cage.
We're playing to Mexican cholos here at the border prison center. A lot of extras, amazing people, having a lot of fun.
Everybody's friendly, everything is okay.
Having a good time right here in Hungary. I don't usually have my head shaved like this, so...
This tattoo is
my tattoo
real.
It's not real. It's not real.
Yesterday when we came here, it was so shocking and it was so moving that Tim Miller, our director, was crying, but he was just asking everyone to forgive him for all this, you know, like suffering we're like recreating here.
I got on the PA system and apologized because it was hard being there. Likewise, I believe these people, the Border Patrol, doing their job. It doesn't vilify anybody. It just shines a light on a situation that is unfortunate for all concerned. So it was very emotionally powerful. All the actors felt it when we were there.
It's quite emotional coming in because there are hundreds of people in these cages and you think, this really happens. So I made a real point of just talking to people so that we were all in it together.
The great thing about working on projects like this, they do such an amazing job, and to dress in the set and dress in the people, and you kind of feel like you're, you know, where you're meant to be. It's also very poignant and thought-provoking filming somewhere like this right now as well, because this is happening.
It's rehearsal, I'm sorry.
Bye.
2 days ago, my commander had them tattoo these coordinates on me. Whoever sent you these texts is the same person I was told to go to for help.
What does it mean?
It means we're going to Texas.
The T-800 cabin in the movie where Arnold and his family live was something that Tim wanted to be about, a Terminator that has become as human as possible and lived the American dream or the human dream, but he wanted a specific feel.
The T-800 cabin was quite an interesting set for me because you need to tell the story of, did they buy the house? You know, they bought a piece of land, they built something. The aging needs to be of that level. You need to show that. You need to tell the story of how he's learnt about people, reading, researching, traveling, whatever it is he's done.
While raising Mateo, my son, I began to understand what I'd taken from you.
You grew a conscience?
The equivalent to one, yes.
We'd looked at a lot of locations, a lot of cabins and houses that were in the middle of the woods that just didn't work. There was a house on the location that was built for another production. We loved the land, but the house didn't work, so we struck the house and we had a full cabin built.
It didn't want to look too old-fashioned. We sort of had the brief that it was probably 12 to 15 years old, but it had a slight modern edge to it. And outside we created a sort of bunker and shooting range, so we still have the whole armory references which go back to the other Terminator films as well.
You just keep this around?
Even without a rogue AI taking over, I calculate a 74% chance that human civilization will collapse into barbarism. Also, this is Texas.
We are currently in the house which is being used for the T-800 cabin in the woods. There was a lot of thought that went into the colouring, keeping it warm to sort of emulate him being part of family. And that's why you can see a lot of wood. We went for real oak. It was all to give it that realism. We wanted it to be a bit Navajo, to have that sort of look of that, and the colouring was very important to get the colours right, and all these paint finishes, and
Do you think it would be good
and this gentleman here.
Do you think it would be good to move the chair a little forward?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to do that.
I love it. You did a great job.
Tell me what happens when this all falls apart.
There's no warning. Day 1, everything just stops. By day 3, the whole world was at war.
The main goal, the main purpose of Grace's future, the film, is to show that this is not a happy place, this future, and really to show what the stakes are, because if our heroes lose in the present, this is what's going to happen.
This is 25 years in the future, and we're going to. Tim and I talked about how far you could go with that.
Science in this future is not slick and well-designed like Apple. It's more of a, we're going to do whatever we can to fight.
Obviously, with past Terminator movies, very iconic in terms of the battlefields of the future. This has a very different look about it. So the VFX were handled at Blur, and they went out and did some really cool things where they took drones out and they filmed this really big canyon and got a bunch of photography, essentially, and are using photogrammetry to create a real environment. So it looks super photoreal. It's a really amazing sequence that looks a little bit different than what we've seen in the past.
It was a nice tease of our future soldiers and this amazing vehicle called the Dragonfly, which was a modern version of a troop carrier.
We are 5 clicks out, carrying wounded precious cargo. Over.
We're inside what I've been told is called the Dragonfly, and it's a helicopter from the future, and it's hard to say what it's going to look like because it's all blue screen right now, but God, I can't wait to see it.
With the Dragonfly, Tim made his decision that the way that it looked was going to be this quite sort of heavier, chunkier piece.
They've just come from a mission, and they're landing back at the base when the Rev 7s catch up to them.
We are dirtying, spritzing, blood, dirt, mud, all this good stuff. My friend Tom here noticed the scars. This is one of our flash forwards to the future, where the Resistance is trying to stay one step ahead of the horde of machines. And Tom here is one of the leaders, so just making him suitably a mess, because they've just been in battle.
A battle is not about infiltration, it's about the most effective killing machines you can find. So the Rev 7s look very different than the Rev 9s, and they don't even make an attempt to be human. And they're pretty horrifying creatures when they show up. They're just there to fuck shit up.
The Rev 7s are 7-foot-tall liquid metal and endoskeleton combined.
Once you sort of decide on, we're going to do the endoskeleton with liquid metal over top of it, then that kind of becomes the technological basis for everything Legion does in the future. So everything is that. And so I thought, how is it going to kill people? It's going to make these tentacles and fucking stab them to death.
Humans have some weapons to fight back. They have these large rifles that fire these depleted uranium shells that are able to blow holes through them, but doesn't necessarily stop them.
When we did those flash forward scenes, I'd say we really were aiming for something that almost is the feeling of a memory or a fever dream, more impressionistic. I really thought that this is more about like how we really don't want this to happen than it is about like, wow, it's cool, they're blowing up robots. And so it was making it seem like a kind of a nightmarish memory.